Oh yeah.
All right, we got a special guest joining us in the building right now. The leader of the PFP Party for Progress, number one on the candidates list, Melissa Gumbs, MP Melissa Gumbs, I should say. Good morning, Mel. How are you doing this
Good
morning?
morning, Super. I'm good, thank you.
All right, good to have you here. PFP, they are on the road to parliamentary elections, which is on January 11th, and they've had a couple of town hall meetings, and I'm sure some of you have already seen their manifesto, which has been out
Postulation actually.
since Population Day.
Yeah.
All right, so it came out Population Day. They had a digital version which you could download and view online. And yesterday I saw them handing out printed versions as well,
Yeah.
which is pretty interesting. A new, like a tabloid style, you would say,
Newspaper
newspaper
style,
style.
yeah.
Yeah.
Newspaper style.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about a little bit more about the manifesto. Basically, we're gonna break it down, and as former Minister of TIAT Stuart Johnson would say, we're gonna dumb it down. All right, because some people might see it, they might be a little intimidated. A lot of people don't like, sad to say, they don't like to read.
Yeah.
So we're gonna break it down for them, chop it down, so it's easy for them to digest. So first of all, what is a manifesto, and how important is it for a political party to have one?
So a manifesto is essentially the party's vision for what they intend to do. Whether it's because we have parliamentary elections,
Mm-hmm.
but I think we can all admit that most parties campaign on what they would like to do if they were given the opportunity to be in a coalition or be in a majority and be in government,
Right.
because that's where the execution comes from. Parliament is there as a supervisor, and government is the person being supervised.
Mm-hmm.
So the manifesto is really a party's collection of like what do they see as the direction the country should go in. And I think it is very important to have one. In the past we've seen very bloated manifestos. I
Mm-hmm.
remember there was one time a party had one like 80 pages. It was strictly bullet points.
Yeah.
Essentially just a kind of wish list with no like real plan.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, especially for those who've never been in government, you can't expect to have everything planned out, but at least a step one, two, three approach. And then, you can say, well, and once you're in there, you can expand the plan further. But there
Right.
has to at least be the foundation of a plan.
Okay.
And a manifesto is that for a party.
Right. And this is your, I would say, second version of the manifesto, because
Yes.
the first time PFP ran for parliamentary elections, you brought out one as well.
Yes, we did. Last time we were one of the first parties to put out our manifesto. This time around, I think we were like third
Mm-hmm.
party to do so, mainly because we waited a while to complete this one because we were meeting with stakeholders to try and finalize certain parts of it. All candidates had a hand in what went into this document, into updating it for this particular election. So we really wanted to make sure that we were set and ready before
Mm-hmm.
we released it.
Now, how much has changed from last version of the
Yeah.
manifesto to this one that PFP has out now?
No, it's a little longer.
Okay.
Mainly because I got a little carried away in my opening message, my introductory message of the manifesto.
Uh-huh.
Kind of channeling the 4 years in Parliament, what I've my experiences there with MP Peterson, and then later on MP De Weaver, and putting that into that message. But structurally, content wise, there's been a few tweaks, a few updates.
Mm-hmm.
But our first manifesto, funny enough, had many of the structural type of reforms that are now part of the country package,
Mm-hmm.
which is now part of the mutual agreement with the Netherlands. So there's not much that we really budged on. And I think too, it's important to mention the country package because anybody that's aiming to get into government with a coalition or majority,
Mm-hmm.
they are bound by that mutual agreement with the Netherlands. So the reforms are going to happen whether you think they're necessary or not, and they are very necessary.
Right.
So we just had to tweak a few things to basically bring our manifesto more in line, even with the reforms that it was already in line with.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most important updates to me that we made is in regards to education. So last time we spoke about special education, we spoke about the fact that we wanted to have um, a dedicated school, etc. For special needs students,
Mm-hmm.
and that is still something that we believe is necessary. But what we adjusted was to make our approach to special education more inclusive for what is there now. The reality is after meeting with stakeholders, meeting with the daycares, etc., you are already being told by educators that there is there's an uptick almost in cases of children possibly being on the autism spectrum,
Hmm.
ADHD, etc. So a rise in neurodivergency, which is which is to be expected. So if you build one special needs school, that will probably be full, the minute it's open.
Right.
So the goal should be that's our approach, is to streamlining and integrating special needs students into the existing educational institutions that are there, and that comes with support for those institutions, support for training for teachers, and a focus on building capacity in specialized educators for those particular students.
Hmm.
And then there, like I mentioned earlier, autism is a spectrum.
Right.
You have some persons that are so far on down on the spectrum that they cannot be in general population.
Hmm.
You understand? So those are the students that we believe then will really need a specialized institution building specifically for them, with sensory rooms that they can utilize, and different tools that you can use to assist them to actually continue to learn, continue to get the education, and live life.
Yeah, I think because a lot of times when we talk about special education, we tend to only look at those persons that have a physical handicap,
Yeah.
and not really look at the mental aspect of it as well.
Yes.
Things that you can't really see physically, but also from the
Exactly.
from yeah. So that's something definitely I feel that we need to pay a little bit more attention on. Now you mentioned that the manifesto is kind of basically like a wish list for a political party, especially if they get into government or form some type of
Well, I
coalition.
think I think in the past it's been a bit of a wish
Oh,
list.
okay.
When you just have like 60 pages of bullet points, I
Hmm.
mean, there, what kind of viable plan can you form on that?
Hmm.
We structured our manifesto to kind of reflect the fact that you are trying to get into parliament and or government for a 4-year term. We have things that we want to see accomplished within the first year,
Hmm.
that will be put in place, and then we focus more on the next 3 years. But in reality, and we've said this at our town halls, it's not the next 3 years that we're planning for.
Hmm.
We at PFP believe that we have to come to a point where we start planning for the next 15, 25, 35 years. That's really how you develop a country.
Hmm.
It cannot be on this, well, I'm in there for 4 years, so I'm just going to do these little short term projects that will ensure that I get elected for another 4 years,
Hmm.
and so forth and so forth. And then there's nothing concrete that can be followed by whoever comes after.
All right. So your manifesto breaks it down from both a execution standpoint and also from a standpoint of let's say legislative as well. So
Yeah.
let's just say you're not part of the government, or there's no coalition or whatever, but you are in parliament.
Yeah.
The manifesto also breaks it down in a way like that too.
So the manifesto breaks it down in the sense of, in Parliament, our goal, and what we've championed the points of our manifesto from the opposition benches over the last 4 years. And I think this is something MP Peterson speaks a lot about, the belief that all legislation has to come from Parliament.
Hmm.
That is absolutely not the case. Parliament is the co-legislator with government. You definitely have the right to initiative as a member of Parliament, but there's a reason why that legislation comes from government. They have the tools, they have the knowledge, the data. We do not believe in just kind of hijacking civil servant departments and sitting with them. That is essentially the responsibility of the ministry
Hmm.
that they're in, and the minister that is over that ministry. For example, special needs policy and legislation has been something promised by the current Minister of Education since 2020, but nothing has really moved forward on that. We can meet with all the stakeholders that we want, but the nitty gritty of it, you see when you're actually in there. And the job of Parliament is to say, well, okay, you've said that this is what you want to do.
Hmm.
Where is it? And I believe that we've accomplished that, and that's something you can do from opposition or coalition benches.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. Most parliamentary democracies, all parliamentary democracies around the world, whether the Caribbean or elsewhere, um, they are not legislation factories,
Hmm.
because there is such a thing as over legislation, and the expertise does not sit in Parliament to do that. If you look at Parliament right now, for most of the initiatives from one MP, the Council of Advice has been ripping them to shreds
Hmm.
and then sending them, back and saying, what is this?
Yeah.
And I think that is a testament to what MP Peterson has been saying, which is that we need to hold government accountable, and we need to press them for the legislation that they want us to review and to approve.
Right. All right. Now, the title of the manifesto I see here, it says "Fight for the Future." Now, there's There's 10 candidates. So what does the five for the future actually mean then?
The five for the future focuses on the content structure of the manifesto. So
Okay.
it's there are five key areas that we have opted to focus on.
Hmm.
They remain this similar to what we previously did. So there's financial stability for financial independence, critical infrastructure planning, improving waste management and environmental care. There's inclusive, dynamic, and progressive education,
Hmm.
sensible energy for the climate change reality, and a healthier and stronger St. Martin. So those are five areas that cover the money, this infrastructure and environment, education itself, energy and our approach to climate change, and
Hmm.
of course, healthcare and sports, and the way that the vision that we then have for the country when it comes to those topics.
Right. Now, those are five very, very crucial and important topics.
Hmm.
And I know all five of them have equal, equal parts of your attention,
Yeah.
I would say. But if you had to really pick which one you would say is most dear to you, which one of those five do you think you would like to basically say that's I don't want to say it's a priority, but it's something that you personally have more of an attachment to, or you think is one of the five that I think once PFP gets into parliament or government, I think this is what we need to work on. One of the first things we need to work on for sure.
Yeah, so that would be financial stability for
Okay.
financial independence. There if there's no money, nothing else can move forward. If the money is not better controlled, better managed, better spent, better allocated, etc., nothing will improve. Education won't improve, healthcare won't improve,
Mhm.
sports, even now you see the issue of like justice, that won't improve. And I think that persons need to be more critical of how their money is managed.
Mhm.
We've all been privy to the rumors, civil servants cussing, etc. Because now that we're heading into that election period, money is being shifted from budget posts to pay for this XYZ pet event or project or workshop or whatever that not necessarily move the needle forward for the country,
Mhm.
but is essentially almost a campaign on taxpayer dollars.
Right.
So I think until we regulate that, and a critical part of that is when it comes to government spending is tendering.
Mhm.
And something that we included in this manifesto as well, at the last page of it, is the PFP deal
Yes,
breakers.
I just wanted to get into that. Yes, so the Party for Progress deal breakers, because usually, after elections or during actual election night, parties already start
Yeah.
negotiating. Let's meet. We got pens, we got napkins. Let's start making a contract or something, and let's start working on it. And I know last election, when they saw the numbers that PFP was getting, people already started reaching out to you to
Yes.
start making some deals and whatever.
People started reaching out to us, and even after
Hmm.
elections, even after this coalition was formed and such, even up until a couple months ago, there were still calls and just urging us, some persons urging us to join with the existing coalition because it makes it more of a broad-based government, etc.
Hmm.
Some saying let's just throw this whole thing to the ground and form something new. And that has been happening,
Yeah.
something we've stayed away from, because they have tried every avenue I think possible to get us to have that conversation, but it's something that we consciously decided we're going to stay away from. But this time around, of course, having sat 4 years in opposition, the goal is to get into government,
Hmm.
and we found it important to also tell the public that that's the reality, that that's what we're aiming for,
Hmm.
and also to say, you know any party that is open to a conversation with PFP about coalition, since historically that's what we've had. These are the three very simple things I think, that they should be on board with.
Right.
The first one speaks to that importance of financial management and financial stability, which is the establishment of the national decree with general measures for financial management, and that is actually a decree that is required by law.
Hmm.
The Accountability Ordinance, Article 46 of that ordinance requires it, and the fact that it has not been established is fascinating to myself and Peterson, because you know the law is telling you that it has to be there.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants to be technical about it could say that because it's not there, every tender that has ever been executed by any government is illegal.
Hmm.
including the ones that the ombudsman herself pointed out, were a little fishy,
Yeah.
regarding waste management and waste collection. So I think that and it's important for people to know that, because all through that process with the ombudsman, and even now, wherever they pop up, the mention is that we've been beaten up on certain ministers,
Mhm.
etc., because it's a personal vendetta, blah blah blah. And I think that that's well, first of all, it's a bit of a cop out, and it's more of the wannabe David Copperfield illusion, or look at the left hand while the right hand does something else,
Right.
kind of behavior that we've come to expect, especially from the two parties that are in this current coalition.
Mhm.
So, for us, no, put the decree in place, and let's see how tendering goes then.
Mhm.
Let's see if we're going to have a one truck company with a 900,000 guilder contract
Yeah.
to pick up garbage. You understand? I think that our goal has always been, from the very beginning, we've said that we're going to tell the people the truth, no matter how much it hurts,
Mhm.
and we're going to be very blunt. And I think that the truth is it's not bullying.
Yeah.
But when accountability is a strange foreign word to you, of course the truth is going to feel like you're being beat up on,
Mhm.
and
Mm.
that's the reality.
All right. So that's deal breaker number one.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's go to number two: a realistic and tangible review of spatial development and our approach to development.
Yes.
Mm.
I think I've said it a couple of times. I've even asked it in Parliament to the Ministry of Rami, when they were presenting their spatial development plan or strategy, or whatever terminology is being used for it. That I don't believe has been really finalized. When do we hit the pause button?
Mhm.
Because developing a spatial development strategy, to me, while still issuing building permits for large commercial developments that are contributing to environmental destruction,
Mhm.
it's kind of like painting a house while they're still mixing the concrete to finish the walls,
Mm.
and that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So, and I always like to preface these things by saying, I'm not an engineer, nor am I a construction worker, but I think common sense is a thing that can help you in any environment. So for us, there needs to be a review of how do we develop. um you have an example right now where there's a lot of hillside construction happening in the Simpson McCool Bay area.
Mhm.
And I think that persons don't need a meteorology degree to be able to say, that with the way that weather is changing, the runoff from
Yeah.
erosion is going to cause serious issues. Um, it's going to run off from the hill into the lagoon,
Mhm.
and that's going to raise the seafloor of the lagoon. And I think that Nature Foundation, the companies in the lagoon, etc., have all been kind of signaling, well, something is wrong.
Yeah.
Because what does that mean? If the bed of the lagoon raises, certain boats that could come in can no longer come in. That impacts the marina's ability to make money. That
Mhm.
impacts our tourism economy. And then someone has to pay for the lagoon to be dredged to bring it back to normal levels.
Yeah.
But if we see that weather patterns continue to be erratic, are we going to keep doing that, or are we going to finally say, no, you want to build a large scale development, there's going to be some contributions you need to make to
Mhm.
environmental management and protection,
Right.
and fixing and making sure that your development does not lead to further environmental damage.
Okay. And the third deal breaker, this is an interesting one, a comprehensive integrity. And this is not only for persons that are ministers and parliamentarians, but also persons in cabinet positions as well. Now that's an interesting deal breaker, because usually when you talk about accountability, the finger is pointed usually at the ministers and the parliamentarians,
Yeah.
but you don't look at the people working in the background. We've seen some very wild and strange things with cabinet members as well, those in SG positions. They usually don't get the scolding, or they get away scot free. There's no accountability there.
Yeah.
Is that what this deal breaker point is
That's
pointing
exactly
towards?
that's exactly what it's about,
Mm-hmm.
and I, again, because I think we prefer to be bluntly honest with how things are going. People have flat out said, whether it's on social media, whether it's to us personally or so, you have cabinet persons acting like henchmen,
Mm-hmm.
like ministers, personal henchmen, threatening whether it's private business owners, persons in agencies and entities that are meant to help with the supervision of how we manage this country, whether it's towards the ombudsman, general audit chamber, council of advice, nature foundation, etc. Literal stories of cabinet personnel threatening people about how dare you bite the hand that feeds you,
Mm-hmm.
etc. And I'm like, it's curious, because for a coalition that points to the, you know, um, the colonial history of the Netherlands and the behavior of the Netherlands, even going so far as to call the Dutch government like a Gestapo, I think that they need to take a look in the mirror and realize that actually the people behaving like a Gestapo are you.
Mm.
I don't use words like that lightly,
Right.
but that's if we want to use words, I know the definition of them, and I hope that they do as well, because that's really what the type of behavior that we're seeing, and I don't think that's something that should be tolerated by anybody. The services that government gives are public services. They're not favors that they're doing to the people of St. Martin.
Yeah.
A building permit, a license, anything like that is a right that you have. If it's not going to be granted to you, then it needs to be properly explained and motivated why.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a right to challenge it, but not to be told if you challenge it, who do you think you are? Why are you biting the hand that feeds
Yeah.
you? Like, that's crazy to me.
Mm.
And I think it should be something that more people wake up and say, that's crazy to me too. And that's something that we talk about a lot in PFP, and it's not something that I would tolerate from cabinet staff if I were a minister. But then I would never associate myself or put persons in my cabinet that would behave in such a way.
Mm. All right. MP Melissa Gumbs here with us on the Suppa Duppa Morning Show, the number one candidate on the PFP. Basically, this morning we broke down their manifesto, made it a little bit more digestible in the last 15, 16 minutes or so. So hope everyone appreciates that. If persons want to get their hands or their eyes, because there is an online version
Yes.
of the manifesto, how can they do that?
So you can go to pfpmanifesto.com and they can download a digital copy for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The physical copies will be available at our Soccer Garden and our Kobe headquarters. Whichever, if you see the door, the shutter up and the door is open, feel free to stop in and pick up a copy or several copies for yourself, for your family or friends.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have manifesto videos that feature the candidates themselves breaking it down. We had my introduction video last week. We also have the video out now on financial stability from MP De Weaver and Patrice Gumbs, our number 4 candidate, number 3 and number 4 respectively. So I think more of those will also be rolled out this week and in the following week before we pause for the Christmas break.
Okay. Speaking about pause for the Christmas break, you also have your town hall meetings
Yes.
that are going down. I believe yesterday was in Soccer Garden.
Yes, yesterday was our Soccer Garden Town Hall, and I want to thank again, the people and the district of Soccer Garden, for coming out for that. It was very, we like to do things in a dynamic sense. We don't like to do rallies where we're shouting at you from a stage. We prefer to get your questions, even though we have, been touching base with various communities since election, whether through persons that we know, community leaders that we engage with. It's still good to give that opportunity to others who may not have had the time to sit with us over these last 4 years, or who just simply have a burning question that they want to ask. So once again, thank you to Soccer Garden for that. Tomorrow, December 7th, 7 p.m., we are at the Simpson Bay Community Center. So I encourage everyone from the Simpson Bay, Pelican, and beyond area to come and sit with us, to have a chat with us. It's never, the boring part is always over soon, and then we get to kind of mingle with each other and just have those informal conversations.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, you're going to be taking a pause for the holiday.
Yes, our last town hall is December 21st. Mainly because we doubled up. Last time we did just Thursdays. This time it's Tuesday and Thursday. So our last town hall is December 21st in the Cahill Bel Air area. And then after that, we are done until January 4th when we go to Belvedere. Because, yeah, personally, we do not like this Christmas campaign. I even thought about making that the fourth deal breaker to say, any coalition has to agree to dissolve it a little earlier so that we can reset the election date and take it out of the holiday season. When people are trying to enjoy their families, we're here having to be in your face with our faces.
Yeah, and it's also a tricky time to campaign.
Yes.
Because it could always seem to as if,
yes,
okay, I'm actually trying to do something for Christmas, for the holidays, as a party,
yeah,
as a politician or as a party, and then people might see it as, oh, that's vote buying,
yeah,
or something like
most
that.
definitely. But it's also that's for those who think like they don't want to appear like they're vote buying. But then you have those that really don't care and take advantage of the vulnerability of persons at the holiday season. Persons who are working 3-4 jobs, want to get their kids a nice gift, and just need an extra, $300-$400 to make it happen. And I think that's, for me, that's mainly why we would like to kind of reset it and take it out of Christmas.
Okay, so the next town hall meeting is in Simpson Bay.
Yes, sir.
You can check out their Facebook page for the rest of the schedule on where they're going to be. I saw an interesting comment on Facebook actually the other day. I believe your first town hall meeting was in Dutch Quarter,
Yes.
and I saw an interesting comment where someone saying, "But PFP don't be in Dutch Quarter, so why they even come in now because it's
Yeah.
elections?" What would you have to say to something like that?
I'd have to say maybe those persons are not in the areas of Dutch Quarter that we just be in.
Uh-huh.
That's the reality. That's Dutch Quarter. I live in Defiance, Middle Region.
Mm.
These are places that we live in. We have candidates that grew up in Dutch Quarter. Maybe they don't live there now, but they're there. And I think that this, we don't have district representation. If we
Mm.
did, this government would probably get a failing grade because you have, the prime minister lives in Dutch Quarter.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest about that. And I think persons may not have been following, but after Irma, Dutch Quarter was the first district that we went to, myself and Marvia Cooks. We were handing out supplies that I had my cousins send from the States
Mm.
because we realized the absolute failure of, relief distribution that was happening from the government at the time. I think maybe people are too accustomed of the photo ops, and that's not something that we do. I think we prefer to actually move in silence because to be announcing that you're moving in silence, you look a bit like a clown.
Mm. Sure.
And I think that we prefer to keep our charitable actions private because that is to us what it should be. It's not charity anymore if you need to put it on Facebook or have somebody heralding the fact that you were in Dutch Quarter. There are things that all of us have been doing in the different communities that people will never know, and that's by design. And
All
I
right.
think if persons are not in the areas of those districts where we are, then I welcome them to come out to a town hall and maybe find out personally what the work we've been doing with persons in the community across districts.
All right. Thank you, MP Melissa Guns, for joining us again on the Super Duper Morning Show. It was a pleasure here for you to break down the manifesto
Thank you for having me.
for persons who are interested in getting it, or they've read it, but maybe it was a little too long for them to
Yeah.
really finish. So you broke it down a little bit this morning. So thank you again for joining us. Before you leave, the question of the day: Facebook.com/Laser101. What was the last sandwich that you made for yourself?
Um, it was actually my version of like a it's mater. Right? Well, it's open face, fried egg, some cheese,
Mm.
and I like to put hot sauce.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Some pepper for progress. Laser 101 to see you with the attitude. Thank you, MP Gumbs, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And much success on the campaign trail.
Thank you.
Birthdays, Big Homie Spoon, you ready?